because I think we're at well over 300,000 businesses who've registered for the government's $130 billion. I can't say that without saying it is such a massive amount of money, having worked in government for all those years. $130 billion JobKeeper wage subsidy scheme. Andrew Clennell, Sky News political editor, joins me now in Sydney. Mate, I have spent years sitting in budget rooms trying to find, $10 million squirreled away to try and get budgets back into surplus. I can't gloss over that number, $130 billion. It's serious, serious money. Well,
I guess that's why, as you said earlier, Scott Morrison took a long time to accept he had to do this. But I think it's a point I've been making, and you and Alan Jones have been making, and Tony Abbott's been making, which is you shut down an economy and the government does that. You're kind of responsible, for, or you can have 20% unemployment if you like, but you'll go down as a Prime Minister who'll be remembered for a long time. So this was the only way of avoiding it. You shut down half the economy because of this pandemic. You've got to find a way out, and I think it's a great move by Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg.
It's a brave move, because a lot of times on these big issues, and the Prime Minister's hit on the health side and the economic side, you can find the officials who are there to give you advice can be rabbit in the headlights. They've never seen anything like this. They've never contemplated anything like this beyond theory. And of course, when you're the Prime Minister, it's not theory. You have to make a bloody decision, right? So it's brave. You're not putting up a piece of paper to someone and walking away and they make the decision. When you're the PM, it's on your desk. You've got to deal with it. Now, I do think you shut down the economy. You have to wear the consequences as a government. I might quibble with the way in which the payment's working. But I can't see any other way. And if they factor it on 6 million workers, if the modelling for the 130 cost is on 6 million workers, that's a 50% unemployment rate.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. And what will happen here, of course, is because it's on the turnover, 30% down turnover, it will obviously pay a lot of people who are in jobs and we're going to stay in jobs, but that in itself means you can create or keep more jobs. But having said that, that definitely points to at least a 20% unemployment rate, maybe higher. And yeah, it's interesting what you say. I think Scott Morrison's he's still relatively new in the job if you compare him to a John Howard, and I think he's pretty cautious. His background is a state Liberal Party director, where he waited for the research first. Now he mentions it himself. He's unashamed about it. He gets the best advice, goes through a lot of hands, and he waits for the advice. None of us.
I've seen him in action around the NSC, National Security Committee table. I shouldn't use acronyms, they're terrible. National Security Committee table, when we were working on the boats plan, stopping the boats. And he's prepared to make a decision. Now, he had never been in Cabinet, let alone ever being a minister. He wasn't elected till 2007, so his first time ever on the government benches as a politician was when he was the minister in Cabinet charged with stopping the boats. And he stepped up to that. I think he's stepping up to this. I think Greg Hunt is also a huge standout for the government. He's a safe pair of hands. He's smart. So I think that's going to stand us all in good stead. But they need all of these elements to work. And of course, one of the big ones we saw out there on the streets of Sydney today, and I've seen similar scenes in Melbourne, these state governments mean business. In New South Wales, it's an $11,000 fine and 6 months in jail. We saw it in Rushcutters Bay Park today. You can go for your run, you can go for your walk, you can be with your family or one other, but you're not sunbathing, you're not picnicking, you're not sort of just lying out there with a book. They're serious.
Yeah, and I think actually one of the things that's driven Gladys Berejiklian and Brad Hazzard to signing this public health order, which is pretty draconian, let's face it, is the Ruby Princess affair. As he's pushing the cruise ships out to sea with the barge pole, they don't want another incident like that. They know that everything for them, and indeed the state, and its health and its economy hinges on what happens from now and flattening that curve. So that is, apart from the fact they've got the most cases, of course, that's another reason to go big with the penalties. But there's absolutely no doubt they're going to go hardline all the way from here on in.
Yeah, look, and I'm very wary of a couple of days of good numbers to even let that claim stand that we're flattening the curve. We've worked so hard, I think, collectively as Australians to get the laggards to the point that they are staying home, that they're doing what they should do, that they're listening to advice. The last thing we'd want them to do is call the war won and be tomorrow out there back on Bondi Beach and doing all the things wrong, because it could all go pear-shaped from here. These are very early days, and Italy was up and down and then up and up and up, and we've seen what we've seen in New York. It's pretty extraordinary. Yes,
certainly. You know, I'm not really hopeful yet. What I am hopeful about and what I'm pleased about is, and you mentioned Mr Morrison and Mr Hunt before, they both made great decisions or come to great outcomes 2 days in a row. So it's kind of like they're hitting their feet. The economic package, wage subsidies, and now the private hospital agreement, which is so important for those ICU beds. So you've had a couple of really good days for the government, and now you start thinking maybe these guys are going to get on top of it. That's why I'm a bit more optimistic.
The rest of us need to do what we're told and follow the advice. Andrew Clennell, thanks very much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Peter.